Now, looking into the rules of sorts and what are they um, for every concept in mathematics, there are certain rules that you must follow, and that rules is what will lead you to solving complex or simple problem particular concept or topic. Now in this we're also going to look at rules of sorts. So what are the rules of sorts? Here I'm going to use a variable. I'm going to use a number here so that you easily understand it. The teacher may use a variable A or B, but students do find variable difficult to, that is using of letters to they find difficult to understand. But it's still the same thing the way your teacher will teach you. So I just want you to have a basic knowledge of these rules of sort. Now the first thing now is that let's look at the multiplication rules. So multiplication rule states that I'm going to use, let's assume you have root 2. This is a sort, root 2 times root 2. For multiplication rules, anytime the base are the same thing, they are multiplying each other, you have ordinary 2. So you remove that particular root and it becomes ordinary 2. Why is this like this? Root 2 times root 2, when you multiply, normally it should give you root 4. Square root of 4 is what? Is 2. So if someone said root 3 times root 3, root 3 times root 3 will give you what? Ordinary 3. So that is the rules of sort. What if they have the same, they have different number in the root? Let's say we have root 2 times root 3. Root doesn't multiplication doesn't care whether they are the same or they are different. It's going to multiply. So 2 times 3 is what is 6. So your answer here would be root 6. Let's assume we have 3 root 2 times 4 root 5. The same thing here. This outside number will multiply. 3 times 4 is what? Is 12. Then root 2 times root 5 is to give you what? Root 10. So that is multiplication for you. No matter it can be minus here, it can be plus, anything is still what? Is still normal multiplication. What of division? If you have root 4, sorry, you can't have root 4, sorry for this. Root 4 is ordinary 2. Okay, let me add one more to this particular multiplication so that you can. Let's assume what of this is ordinary number. If you have like 3 times, sorry, this is getting crazy. This, okay, sorry for this delay. Now if you have ordinary 3 times, let's say root 6. Now the same thing will happen. There's an invisible 1 here. This 3 is going to multiply that invisible 1. That will be 3 times 1, which is what? 3. 3 times 1 is 3. Then root what? You just put the root 6 at the back. So this is clear for multiplication. Now when we now go to division, what does division? Let me clear this so that we can look at it one after the other. You can pause the video and copy that particular solution. If we have, let's say we have root 15 divided by root 3. Now when you are dividing this is how you go. You can divide this normally, no problem, it will still work. Divided by root 3, you can say 3 here is 1, 3 here is what? Is 5. So your final answer will be what? Root 5. There's another way of doing this thing. When you have root 15 over what? Over root 3, you can rationalize. We are still going to move to rationalize. I'm just showing you the better way of doing this. Anytime you are given something like this, you multiply each of them by what is at the bottom. So it's going to be times root 3 over what? Root 3. Now root 15 times root 3 will give us root 45, as I mentioned earlier, over root 3 times root 3. I told you to give what? To give you 3. Now this thing in basic form, it is 3 root 5, then over what? Over 3. You understand how I get this as I proceed. Don't be afraid or don't be confused. So 3 here 1, 3 here is what? Is 1. So your answer is still root 5. So that is root for you. If so, let's assume another one you have. Let's say we have root 5 divided by root 5. As you all know, this will also give you what? Root 5 over what? Over root 5. This will give you what? 1. So There is no term that is difficult here. So let's check another thing under this particular division. Let's assume we are giving something. Someone give you like let's say root 8 over 2 over 2 or divided by 2. Now you cannot use this 2 because this 2 does not have root. You cannot use to divide what is here. The best way is to simplify this thing in basic form. So this will be 2 root 2. Don't worry, I'm still going to explain this to you. I'm just showing what you're going to do. This 2 will cancel this 2. So answer is what? Is root 2. That now gives us that if someone gave you like 4, let's say 4 root what? Root 5 over, let's say over 2. This 2 will only divide what is there. So it will be 2 here, 1, 2, 2. So your answer here is what? 2 root what? Root 5. But if you are given, let's say root 7 divided by 7. In this now, you cannot use this 7 to divide what is there because this one is in what? Is in root. It's not the same thing with this. You can't divide it. And this 7 cannot go in 6. So your answer is still what? 6 root 7 over what? Over 7. That is still what your answer will be. So that is that under division. If you can solve most questions, there are a lot of questions under this division. I'm still going to look at some of them. Now let's now move to addition and subtraction of sod. Now addition is very tricky. Now if someone give you root 3, the same base, root 3 plus root 3. It's just like an algebra something. Root 3 plus root 3, there's an invisible 1 here, invisible 1 here. 1 plus 1 will give us 2. Then you pick one of these root 3, you put it at the back. That is just it. It's just like someone saying that you have, like, let's say they gave you x plus x. In algebra, x plus x, there's an invisible 1 here, invisible 1 here. 1 plus 1 is 2. You pick one of the x, then you join it. The rules that apply to algebra, addition and subtraction, same thing that applies to sod. Now it means if someone gave you root 3 plus root 5, in this thing is still root 3 plus root 5. You cannot add them. I'm saying x plus y. X plus y will still give you what? X plus y. There's no changes to it. Now, if someone now gave you, let's say they said you have 2 plus 3 let's say root 5. Now you'll be, let me just add this one is outside, let me just add it. No, you cannot add it because this one has square root, this 3 has square root, but this one does not have. They must be the same thing. So it means your answer is still what? 2 plus 3 root 5. So that is what this answer will be. So it's plus and minus. Just once you understand algebra, how it works, you'll be able to understand how plus addition of sods and subtraction of sods work. So this is addition of sods. So let's now move to when we have what of minus subtraction. Root 3 minus root 3. If you are given root 3 minus root 3 minus this will be what? This will be 0. There's no changes there because 1 minus 1 is 0 and 1 times root 3 is what? Is 0 times root 3 is what? Is 0. So just like saying x minus x, and x minus x is what? Is 0. So if you are given root 4, let me root 4, this is ordinary 5. Root 5 minus root what? Root 7 is still root 5 minus root 7. Nothing is going to change because they are still the same thing. But if someone give you like, say 3 root 5 minus, let's say 7 root 5. In this particular case, since both of them have the same root, you just say 3 minus 7. 3 minus 7 will give us minus 4. So this is minus 4. Then you pick one of the roots because they are going to put at the back. The same thing applies to addition. Assume this one is addition, it will be 3 plus 7. You just put 10 here. They will pick one of the. So if I give you ordinary number, let's say you have 7 minus 4 root 7. In this particular case, you cannot subtract them because this one does not have a root. So your answer will still be what? 7 minus 4 root 7. So there's no magic here. So that is for addition and subtraction. So we have looked at the division, addition and subtraction. And there's there's another one that I want you to understand under root. If you are given a let's say you are given a conjugate, you have like, let's say we have 2 over, if they ask you to do something like this, you are going to multiply each of them by what is at the bottom. This, because it is not mathematically sound that you should have a root as the bottom of your, as a denominator. So in this case, we call it what, to rationalize. So you are going to multiply the up number, the numerator and denominator by what is at the denominator. So it will be 2 over root 3 times root 3 over root 3. This is how you solve this particular question. So we are still going to do rationalization of sorts, so don't be confused under this particular one. I'm just introducing you to it. And there's another thing again under this sort. Then we have note to the end of this tutorial so that you can have the notes. There's another rules there. They said equality of what? When you have equality of sorts, one is particular sort, are they equal to each other? Now if you have something like, let's look at this question here. Let's say they said if you have root a times b is equal to root times. So what I'm doing here is that if you have something like this, if somebody gives something like this, we have like 3 times 5. This is the same thing as saying root 3 times what? Times root 5. Do you know that? Yes, because 3 times 5 here is what? Is 15. And what is the same thing as saying root 3 times root 5, you still give what? Root 15. That is that for that. So in this particular, if the roots are attached to both multiplication, it's still the same thing as separating those particulars multiplying by their words, by their roots. So that is that for that. Now the next one they said, there's one where we have what? Division also. So what they are saying here is that if you have like, let's say roots 10 over 2, is the same thing as saying root what? Root 10 over what? Over root 2. There's no difference between this, because 10 over 2 here will give us, write this one, root 2 here 1, root 2 here will give us what? Will give us 5. So your answer here also is what? Root 5. So it means this particular, for this particular roots, under the same root, it is what this is. You can dissociate them. You can decompose them to two different or three different roots. Now which one of them are not equal? They said if they are plus, they are not equal, and they are minus. What I said earlier is just the same rules I'm saying now. So what they are saying here is that if it is plus that is attached between them, let's assume we have, somebody gave you, let's say we have root what? Root 3 plus 5, and it's not the same thing. It is not equal, means it is not the same thing with root 3 plus root what? Root 5. In this case, they are both in the same root, so you can easily add this one. 3 plus 5 will give us root 8. And you can remember when I was explaining with our previous class, I said you cannot add this thing together because this one is having different number in the root, this one also different number in the root. So for it is not possible. So this one is not equal to what? Is not equal to this. They can't be the same thing. So the same thing applies for minus. If you have something like this, if you have let's say you have 3 minus 5, is not the same thing as saying root 3 minus what? Minus root 5. Just because they are not the same thing, they don't have the same value. So that is under root. It means you cannot add two roots that they are under the same root. They are not if addition and subtraction, they are the same number in the same root, you cannot add them together. It's not possible, and you cannot subtract them. They are not the same thing as dissociating them or decomposing them to each particular root. But for multiplication and division, you can do that. So those are rules, or this is rules under sort. We are still going to look at question how to decompose to basic form to sort form and sort form to basic form. So let's move on.